It feels like the madness of what's probably going to be the NBA offseason is going to kick off right after the NBA Finals ends, as we have word that the Milwaukee Bucks could be waiting on a Knicks collapse and hope that that forces them towards making a trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo. But before we talk about that, we're going to talk about how the Charlotte Hornets and Sacramento Kings are talking trade for Domantas Sabonis, and if Miles Bridges is part of that, as they are also actively shopping Miles Bridges. We'll talk about all that, plus the latest with the LeBron James and what his offseason could lead him as the Golden State Warriors are preparing a pitch for LeBron James. We'll talk about all that plus more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball and NBA related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We've got a goal of getting to 10,000 subscribers by the start of the 26-27 season. We're a little over halfway there at 5,000 subscribers, so make sure you guys hit that like button. The statistics tell me that about 60% of you guys that are actually watching us every day have not yet hit that subscribe button. So hit that subscribe button, help a brother out. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into it. So I know we have Giannis trade news, we have LeBron and offseason news. We've talked so heavily about that, not to say that there isn't some actual new news in regards to what could be going on in either one of those spots. It's just as an interest of conversation for me, I want to start off talking about something that we have not talked a lot about, and that, or it really any about, and that's Domantas Sabonis recently. So there is some word coming out that the Charlotte Hornets and the New York Knicks have already done some precursory talk in regards to a trade that could send Domantas Sabonis to the Charlotte Hornets. So we're going to talk about that. But I first want to talk about what the Hornets reportedly have out on the market. So we have word that the Charlotte Hornets are looking to trade Miles Bridges and his contract. And I don't think that's really too much of a shock. I think, the writing was on the wall there. They are expected to make him available in talks. This comes from both Mark Stein and Jake Fisher in regards to that. They say this: the Charlotte Hornets are expected to make Miles Bridges available in trade discussions. The team discussed deals for Bridges at the trade deadline, though there could be a wider market now as Bridges is entering the final year of a deal worth $22.8 million. The 28-year-old averaged 17.1 points, 5.8 rebounds last season. So Miles Bridges, right, is a player that, not going to talk about the off-the-court stuff. It is what it is. Everybody knows what it is. I have a video out on my feelings about that if you want to talk about it, so we're not going to do that, right? But let's talk about why teams could be interested to be out on it. For those that don't know, on this channel, we like to present a conversation, and then we talk about both sides of it. It keeps me honest as a solo content creator. It also keeps the conversation a little bit more fluid. So why could teams be interested in Miles Bridges? A, just the fact of being a $22.8 million expiring contract alone could make teams interested, right? Expiring contracts don't necessarily always have the value that they once did. Think about it, even just 5-6 years ago, expiring contracts almost had the value that you can get something back for a player that's expiring, especially if it's a player that still puts up production, because the team gets a one-year look at what they could bring and gets their bird rights, and therefore teams, held that in value. You may get a protected first or something like that. But now, with the protections on picks changing, where picks can only be protected, if I'm not mistaken, 1 through 10, and how with the change of the draft lottery rules, teams may be a little bit more protective of their first-round picks, at least initially, as the league adjusts to these new rules. Miles Bridges, outside of that, is still a player that can score, and he can rebound, and he can provide depth at the forward position. He is a starting caliber forward for a lot of teams in this league. And I say this: if you're at this position where Miles Bridges is a bench piece for you, and you're paying, even if you're willing to pay $22 million for a bench piece, he's an excellent bench piece potentially. The Charlotte Hornets were a winning team last year. They played really well last season with the addition of Con Knipple. Shout out to him for what he had. LaMelo Ball had one of his best seasons as well last year. And so it just seems like the Charlotte Hornets are ready to move on from Miles Bridges so they can kind of make their team a little bit more fluid, those type of things. They also have a draft pick in this year's draft, so you want to take a look at that. So, Miles Bridges would turn 29 about, almost at the end of the season. His birthday's in March, so he's going to be 28 for the majority of next year. And so this is a player that, when you look at it, when he's played in seasons, not because of stuff, every season of his career is played over at least 65 games. You can't say that about a lot of, he has one where he played 64, so at least 64 games. And you can't say that about a lot of players in the NBA. So he's technically a durable player as well. So for the right team, I do think that a short-term scoring upgrade and forward depth, he can provide a lot of that for a team that's willing to take on that $22.8 million or at least not have to send back the exact matching salary to provide the Charlotte Hornets a little bit of cap relief. Why his market could be limited, though. Teams may hesitate because of fit. I think, you always have a fit. Miles Bridges is a player that does need the ball. When it comes down to that, you need it to keep him involved with that. And also long-term commitment, right? Like, if you are a team that has any doubt about if you want to provide a long-term contract to Miles Bridges, it could leave you outside looking in regards to that, right? Expiring contracts can help deals and trades get done, but I do think that they just don't have that same value, like I said, that they used to have at some point in time. So, and some teams may prefer kind of cleaner role player fits than Miles Bridges when it comes down to it. But I say this, you're trying to turn a veteran into value, and the question is whether the league does see, or at least you can convince a couple of teams to see the value in Bridges more than just the salary part of it. If you do that, then yeah, there's a chance that you can absolutely find a new destination for Miles Bridges, right? But then let's get into the other part of this, right? So it has been reported as well that the Charlotte Hornets and the Sacramento Kings have already started talking a trade for Domantas Sabonis. Now, this comes from Sam Amick of The Athletic, where he says this: the Charlotte Hornets are looking to add size to their front court. That's led them to trade talks with Sacramento Kings centered around big man Domantas Sabonis. The Hornets have a large amount of expiring salary that they can send to the Kings in a potential trade. However, Sacramento is reportedly looking to add one of Charlotte's first-round picks in 2026 draft. The Charlotte Hornets hold the number 14 and the number 18 picks in the draft and aren't looking to move either pick in a deal for Sabonis. This could be a situation where the two teams re-engage after the draft. Sabonis has been termed as the most likely move of Sacramento's veterans. The Kings have received interest in the 30-year-old big man dating back to last season's trade deadline. So Sabonis has contract amounts of $45 million for the 2026 season, followed by $48.6 million for 2027-28. So when you look at the Charlotte Hornets, we just talked about a player in Miles Bridges who has at least $28 million that can go towards that matching salary, right? So if they're willing to take that, they already have expirings in DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, where they can look to do some stuff at, as well. The Kings are clearly headed towards a total reset and rebuild, right? Like, that's the thing that you're looking at. So if the Kings can stack the deck with expiring contracts that expire as soon as at the end of next year and get draft picks while doing that, that's almost the perfect scenario for them. And that is what I think is the cleanest rebuild for them as well. And it just makes the most sense for them to make that move, right? So you're looking in a spot where it just makes sense. The question is what else would they want? So they do have Miles Bridges, who's expiring at $22.8 million, which is good. They also have Grant Williams at $14.2 million, which is expiring. It really comes down, though, to this is a playoff team, right? And so the Charlotte Hornets are probably going to want to stay at that level. And so when you look at it as well, like, you're adding Sabonis, you do have Ryan Kalkbrenner down there, who I think did a really good job when he played last season for that Charlotte Hornets team, that you can look at and say, Sabonis with Kalkbrenner, we've already seen Sabonis be in kind of the dual lineups before with another big. I think that's kind of the best spot for him as well going forward. It can make some sense for the Charlotte Hornets team that's looking to make a move in the East. So whether it's Moussa Diabate, Ryan Kalkbrenner at center, you could bring in Sabonis as your four there. There's some things to make some sense there in the high regard. You're adding front court depth. You're getting more size. You don't get the shooting that you had with Miles Bridges, but you are still getting a player that can still help rebound. He's a really good offensive rebounder as well. So that's really kind of what you're looking at. This would make interesting trade partners for this, right? So let's talk about both sides of it. Why would Charlotte consider it? Sabonis gives Charlotte a proven front court hub. He can pass, he can score, he can shoot, he can rebound. He does that, right? High-level passing big, when I think it works, especially with LaMelo Ball and Kyle Knipple. If you have your passing from the interior, that really helps a lot right there. He can stabilize the offense, and I like that. You throw in Brandon Miller in there as well, right? Charlotte has been really stuck in asset stacking and building mode for quite a while, and now it seems like they're ready to make their move out of that. Now, I also understand them in this draft not wanting to give up either one of their first-round picks because of the depth in this draft and how the draft is looked at, overall. So the Charlotte Hornets just waiting this out and saying, hey, we're going to wait out past the draft. You're still going to be looking to move Sabonis. At that point, if a team didn't give you a pick into the 2026 draft, you're already looking at 2027. So the Hornets need size, and it makes sense. Why they have to be careful in regards to this, though? Sabonis is owed major money. And while I wouldn't count this as maybe an all-in move, right, it still is a considerable move with that, right? So And then if you are keeping your picks 14 and 18, which you reportedly want to keep in this draft, you do have to start thinking about the future and extensions coming up and stuff like that. Like, that's another thing that the Charlotte Hornets have to look at, because if you get Sabonis' contract, we go past the season, you already have Brandon Miller, who's a restricted free agent at the end of next year. Josh Green, Grant Williams, those guys are also restricted that you have to look at as well. So you got some things to look at in regards to that. I do think that there is a world in which this works for both teams. We just got to see what's going to happen. This sounds like the type of aggression level that the Charlotte Hornets should have this offseason, though. And for that, I'm not mad at that at all. So let me know what you guys think on that part down below. Let's get into the new Giannis news. It's like new Giannis news every other day at this point. I don't think people really know what Giannis is going to do. But this one now comes down to reportedly that the Milwaukee Bucks are waiting on the Knicks to choke away the NBA Finals and then seeing if that leads them to wanting to pivot and being a little bit more desperate to add the superstar in Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's an interesting point, right? Now, this one also comes from Jake Fisher as well and on the Stein line. And so when you look at this, here's the thing. I appreciate the chest here by the Milwaukee Bucks, right? Because we know the New York Knicks are a team and a franchise that's almost always looked and wanted to get a star, right? So if Milwaukee is playing this smart, for, especially when we hear rumors that the Miami Heat are kind of the best option there for them, if the Knicks blow a 2-0 lead in the NBA Finals, best believe they're going to come out of that and want to be a little bit aggressive, right? And so waiting, you could then create a bidding war between Miami, New York, and any other interested team, which leads you to get the most back. And that's really what this is about. You want to play teams against each other. The more teams that you can play against each other, the more you end up netting back in a deal. And that's really it, right? So with the Milwaukee Bucks needing the maximum, or just wanting the maximum leverage that they can get, if they think that, hey, the New York Knicks crap out in this finals and it gives us that much more leverage, let's do that, right? So, trying to secure extra draft capital before the draft, all that is there. Now, while waiting could be risky is, reportedly Miami is Giannis's preferred destination. And if that is a preferred destination and Giannis comes out and basically says, listen, you can trade me to the Knicks, but I'm not going to sign an extension there, the leverage immediately goes back. And then the market could become even more limited at that point, right? The longer this draws out, the more pressure it builds on Milwaukee's front office to get something done. And you look at the moment any other team that, even if you're trying to play teams against each other, pivot and go any other direction, then you're kind of screwed, right? And that's why Milwaukee has to play this tough, right? And so we're hearing also that Giannis could get moved before the NBA draft. I think that's still the best move for them. Once these picks become actual players, that's when teams can kind of fall in love with who they draft. So I think overall right now, you want to take advantage of Miami chasing a superstar for so long, Giannis and Bam working out those type of things, and you just want to do that. I think that's just what works out the best for Milwaukee in the long run. So I don't think you want this to drag out too long if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. If you have a deal that you feel confident about during the NBA draft, I think you kind of have to take that deal and move on with it, because if Giannis has his preferred and favorite destination, he's going to find his way to force himself to that destination anyway. We've seen that happen before. But let me know what you guys think on that part down below. Lastly, let's talk about the LeBron stuff before we get up out of here. So reportedly that the Golden State Warriors are trying to make a leverage play to get LeBron into Golden State. Now, this isn't the first time that we've heard this. It makes some sense in regards to it. This one also comes from Jake Fisher. He says this: staying with the Lakers is widely believed to be his preferred choice because he is so entrenched in Los Angeles now after 8 seasons with the purple and gold. Yet league sources maintain the Golden State Warriors legitimately interested in adding LeBron to their Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond core coached by Steve Kerr, with the pitch presumed to include the idea that LeBron could commute from Los Angeles to some degree as well. The idea of a third stint for LeBron James in Cleveland Cavaliers harder to envision, not only because of the severe financial limitations that the Cavs will face trying to bring him back to Ohio, but the sheer distance from what he's established since the summer of 2018 in South California. So here's the thing, right? The Warriors are right. They want to try to maximize in Steph's window. If they want to add LeBron and they think LeBron gets that, that's great. It is what it is. Now, there also is some report from Mark Stein as well that LeBron still, his preferred destination is to return to the Lakers. And we just talked about that. It's because of the business ventures that he has in LA. The Warriors make some sense for a team that, they're all old there. I call them the Wild Hogs for those that know that movie, because they're all old down there and they're trying to accomplish something and do that. Like the commute from the Bay to from Los Angeles to the Bay. I mean, it keeps him still in California, which I think is a big thing for his business ventures, but think that this is still, it still feels unlikely. Just in my personal opinion, I still think that, and maybe this is just me thinking about the storyline of it all and the booking of it all, is that it's got to be either LA or Cleveland, right? Like, if you're going to go anywhere else outside of LA, no matter isn't the best money making opportunity for LeBron, Nike, and the Cleveland Cavaliers is to have LeBron James back? And let's not act like they still wouldn't be a contender to make the NBA Finals as well. But let me know what you guys think on that one. Where do you think LeBron ends up? Has any of the offseason stuff changed your mind of that at all? As a matter of fact, let me know what you guys think on all of it. Charlotte, Domantas Sabonis, do you think that makes team for a young team that made the playoffs last year? What do you feel about that? Let me know what you guys think on all of that down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
Been a presentation of the Breaks Media.